What is happening, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Pritpal's Projects, and today we're going to be building a new desk. So first, let's go back to last year when I actually started this project. Sorry for the hold up.
I wanted to introduce you to my bedroom actually, and this is my desk, and this is where I edit those videos. Now this desk is like a hybrid of an eBay furniture and some random wood stuff that I made ages ago, and it is terrible. Like, the whole desk is shaking. So if I show you the whole setup, this is my computer. For all you computer guys out there, I am running an i5 with a 1080 Ti, 32 gigs of RAM. I'll probably stick it down in the comments below as to my exact spec on the machine. But I built this a couple months ago now, and it's running really well. I've got a random Amazon keyboard and mouse, and I've got a nice 34-inch widescreen monitor. But the desk sucks, and I really need to upgrade it. So let's go downstairs and I'll show you what I've got. So this is actually what we're working with. Now, this is a random find off Facebook Marketplace. This is a real oak dining table, and it was actually a returns to the furniture company that actually produces these tables, but it's been sprayed in black, so it kind of makes sense to me why they returned it, because it's actually real oak. So you can see the wood in there, and it is pretty thick stuff, and it is pretty much solid across the whole table. It's made up in little slats. I have tried sanding this to try and get the finish off, but honestly it's just taking forever. So instead I've gone to Wix. We're going to try some varnish stripper. I'm going to put it on this, and hopefully that makes less sanding work for me to do. Little update, so it's just starting to rain. Table's had the stripper on it for probably about 2 hours now. It's had about 2 or 3 thick coats, and you can see it's all lifting off. You're supposed to wash this stuff down with water afterwards, but it is literally starting to rain, so it's actually perfect timing. But I just wanted to test it, so I've got a little metal scraper. I just want to see how it comes off. Alright, so this is pretty much it for the table for today. I am worn out, but it looks beautiful. I love the little aging effect that the black has given the wood. So I've just finished sanding it with 120, and I've hit it with a little bit of water just to check out the grain, just to see what it looks like. And I really like it. The black sort of left these aging marks, almost like a silvering to the wood. And that's a win for me, because I wanted that rustic kind of feel. So now that it's at 120, I'm done sanding. I'm not going to sand it anymore now, but what I am going to do is I'm probably going to chop it to size. So I want to make it about 600mm wide. Current table's currently 850, so I'll have a spare 250mm for activities, which is why I want to make the monitorizer out of that piece that I cut off. But I mean, for a table that was completely black, it's coming out really nice. You can see the water's starting to dry, so it's not as dark, but I really like the way it's coming out. So these are the legs that I'm using for this project. These are from like eBay. They were like 20 quid, and I like the way they look. I was gonna make them out of steel. I mean, it's just box section welded together, but I probably would have paid more in metal and time to have to actually do them. But
These have got these 6 holes in them, so I'm going to mark these holes and I'm going to use some threaded inserts to put into the bottom of this so I can take it apart from the bench. So what this actually means is now that I've got the legs on, I can plan out the LEDs that I want to use on the bottom. So I actually want to make the bottom of this table light up, and I'm probably going to go in an L around there. Actually a U shape because it will return on the other side. So this is the bottom of the table. This is all the threaded inserts in, and I'm just using normal M8 bolts. That's what I think these are. But this is what I plan to do. I want to run an LED strip all the way around the table on the underneath, and I've got this stuff which is the aluminium trunking, so it's actually got a diffuser on there, which if I try and peel this back, and that diffuser will actually diffuse the LED light coming off of it. So I need to cut these square, and I'm going to cut all the sections out, and that's why I want to router this in. So I'm going to router that channel all the way along the desk, and that will perfect LED lighting effect on the desk. So this chop saw is like completely overkill for these aluminium channels, but it's the only thing that I've got that will cut a 90 without having to go to my brother's house to get tools. So we're just going to use it. Normally I chop 3-inch stainless steel exhausts on this, but now we're going to cut 15mm aluminium trunking. Now what the hell did I just do basically, because I realized I didn't explain that very well. So on this router we've got set up a depth thing so I can plunge into it, and I've set up this guide, so I've set it about 1 inch away because that's where I wanted it. I've done half height cuts, so we haven't actually gone all the way, and the reason is I don't want to put too much pressure on the bit. It's just better to do it in 2 passes. So now that I've done the first pass, which is probably about 5 to 7mm deep, I'm now gonna plunge it the full depth and cut the whole thing around. But it doesn't look too bad so far. It's pretty nice. Once they're cut, I need to get the chisel into all the corners, get them perfect so the mitered pieces that I've made will drop straight in. So we'll just see how that goes. I tell you what guys, I'm so happy with the way it's just turned out. Like, this is one scary tool, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Again, the sawdust is not great, but it is what it is, but we're working with it. But this is what we got so far. Now that I've cut those router slots in, I already made these LED backings, and you can see they sit just proud of the surface, which means just the diffuser sticking out, which is exactly what I wanted. I did miter all of these as well. And they fit in really, really nice, and they go all the way across the table into a nice U shape. And again, look at those miters, man. I'm so happy with this. So what that means is this whole table now, this is the bottom, and that strip is going to be running across the whole thing, which means this whole table will light up, and that is basically the plan. Along with this table, of course, I've got the monitor riser that's going to go on top as well. That also has an LED strip in. I've just got to figure out how to get the wiring to it without you actually seeing it in the table. Table's going quite well so far, and the monitor riser that I plan to use has actually worked out pretty well with the Conrod. So we're going to duplicate it here. Now, I did a test fitting over there off camera, but this is actually recording it whilst doing it. So onto the oak, I'm going to transfer the drawings of where I want that. I've done it completely off fluke. I've just spaced it a little bit away from where the LED is and where that side's going to run on the bottom of the table so they don't clash when I make the mounting. I'm going to draw it on the top. So I've been using a spade bit to just hollow out most of the hole, and then I get a jigsaw, and then with the jigsaw
cut the notches and then use good old-fashioned chisel to get it square. Slide the Conrod through the hole. Well, I mean, you'll see in a second anyway. So, this is how it actually works. The Conrod is going through the table, yeah? And then on the top, over here, we've got the gudgeon pin, the factory gudgeon pin of the piston, going through the Conrod, holding it up. And then these are some 20mm conduit holders. The gudgeon pin is sitting on some conduit holders, and then it gets bolted down, and then the finished product looks like that. And that's what we're going to see from the top of the table. But the Conrods are in, and I am absolutely gassed with the way it's come out. So this is how it looks. Conrod goes into there. So basically for the mounting, I drill the holes for the Conrods to come through because the bolts were long enough. I did countersink them, and then these nuts will be tightened on final fitting. Conrod is then bolted to the table, and as I go up, you can see the Conrod actually comes through the table itself, and I've got it sitting on these electrical conduit clips, and the factory gudgeon pin is going through here. But it is time to start finish sanding this, so I'm going to take it all apart. I've got to fix the leveling issue that I've got here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some spacers in between the Conrods to center it on both sides, and then I'll put them in final fix when I'm done and it's all finished. Sorry, camera battery died, but I'm gonna be trying to use this Osmo top oil. That's what I've been trying to say this whole time. Never used it before. Sanded up to 180 because that's all I've got. The next one up I've got is 320, and on this one it says up to 240, and I do kind of want to stay in the instructions. It says anywhere between 150 and 240, and I'm at 180. And you know what, I've been sanding for days and I am absolutely done with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this table down, and then we're going to get some beauty shots pouring this on top. And yeah, I'm not qualified to do this, so if I mess this up, I'm going to be super pissed off. But let's just go for it anyway. Okay, YouTube, I am back. Now, it has been a couple weeks. I finished the table in the Osmo top oil. I actually did a layer on the bottoms today as well because I realized I didn't actually finish the bottom, so I wanted to make sure they're protected. But it's time now for me to glue my LED channels in. So these are the channels. I pre-cut these earlier on, you would have probably seen. Now I actually want to glue these in to the table. So obviously with the routed out holes, they fit really nice. I actually labeled them all before taking them all out because they are mitered to fit specific joints. But again, I need to glue these in, and to be honest, I've got some epoxy. I think I'm just going to use that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to hit the back of these because they are painted with just a little bit of sandpaper just to rough up the surface. The wood, it should stick to really nicely, which should give me a nice solid bond for the LED trunking to be in. Once the LED trunking is in, I will start laying out my LED strip tape that I brought. I'm using COB LEDs. However, COB I do with question marks because I ordered COB and they look like COB, but they're not really as good as COB. So we'll just see what happens with that. I'm still going to use them. I've been waiting like 3 weeks for LEDs. So I'm just going to sand these bit of epoxy, glue them in, and let's get making some progress on this. little random tip for you. When I'm mixing epoxy and I've got to get into tight spaces, I use toothpicks. So they're really cool, really simple. Just grab a couple of toothpicks. They make perfect mixing items and they make it perfect to put on. Actually just use some masking tape, stuck some masking tape to this to actually mix the epoxy on, and then now that they're glued in, I've just put some tape on it to hold them. So we'll leave these for about an hour and we'll see how they've glued down. Other thing I've done is where the mitered corners were, I've stuck clamps just to keep it pressed down so the epoxy grabs really nice in those bits. I don't want this thing lifting, and that is the plan. Okay, so it's pretty late at night and I've been messing around, and on this table I've been trying to figure out how to make it bend because I don't have the L strips, and the L strips I do have are too big, so they physically don't fit in the trunking. So this LED is not actually for this trunking, and I was trying to figure out how I can make it turn, and I literally just cut a bit of the COB section out and folded it over on itself really gently, and just I'm testing if it works. So let's plug it in and see if it lights up. Another great day in my furniture adventure. So you've probably seen the time lapse. Footage of me actually soldering the LEDs together. So that's because I had to make the L sections. But the desk is kind of put together now. The bottom section, I've got the LEDs left to do on the top. And this is basically what I'm doing. So I've got the strip. I'm gonna cut it down to length. I'm gonna solder some wire onto it and then run it in this channel over here. And then here you can see what I've made before. I've actually drilled a hole just into the side of the Conrod because these are rifle drilled Conrods, so they have a hole going through them, and I've fed my LED wiring straight up it. And then into the bottom, even though it's disconnected now, I've actually put a quick connector. So that means I can disconnect this and take just the top section of the table apart. And then that wiring will run inside this channel and connect into my strip, and then hopefully you don't see any wires when you're sitting there, which is something that I'm really trying to do. So I'm just gonna quick time give this touch up and let's go. It's been a long few weeks, but I think the table is fully complete. And oh my god. So underneath we can see the U-shaped LED bar, and then under the top monitor riser we've got that same LED bar which lights up the hole underneath of the monitor. And there's only one cable that powers it, which connects right there. Wow. This table is incredible. I mean, it's so cool. It's exactly what I wanted. It's just come out of my head and it's here now. So let's get this into my room and get to work on it. Alexa, turn on desk.
So I've been using this desk for over a year now, and honestly it's probably one of the best things I've ever made. I literally sit here every day for work, and it just makes such a big difference to be comfortable where you're working. So if you're thinking about upgrading your desk space, I would highly recommend building yourself your own desk to fit your own needs. But thank you very much for watching another episode of Prip House Projects. If you like this content and the future content we've got coming up on the channel, please like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.